the definitions of social capital in society are changing. And I think the biggest business opportunities are driving change in those really big pillars that today define social capital. And I define those big pillars as healthcare, education, and financial services. Live as long as you can, have the skills to earn money, and then have access to money. Those are the three, in my opinion, new Maslow's hierarchy of needs that people give a shit about. And so finding ways of reconstructing any business in any of those three areas should be the primary focus of very capable people who are trying to both, move the world forward and make a ton of money. Simply put, those are trillion-dollar markets that are completely fucked up, that are ripe to be disrupted. Within that, when I look at Bitcoin, it is one of the most interesting things happening in that financial services pillar that I've ever seen. And the reason I like it so much are two things. One is, it is for the first time, the cheapest and most frictionless payment rails we've ever seen. And so forget Bitcoin as an underlying currency. You don't have to care about whether it replaces fiat dollars or not. What you have to care about is that instead of paying 2.5% or 1.5%, I can basically pay virtually nothing to clear and basically process transactions and get money from one account to another account, right? From one address to another address, which is effectively what today's payment rails do for people. So what that allows you to do is much more profitably have businesses that can basically accept and take payments for anything, for any kind of good and service. And so as a result, more services will exist, and as a result, more interesting creative uses of those payment rails will happen. That's the most primary thing. But then the secondary thing, which is again going back to these trends, which I think is more societal in nature, is that you have an increasing level of mistrust around the monetary and fiscal policy for many governments, including the United States. And so when you think about things that could span anywhere from, at the simple end, devaluation, to all the way at the other end, asset seizures by federal institutions, and if you don't think those are happening today. We're going to go through a devaluation in Brazil. We're probably going through a devaluation in India. These are two of the most important economies in the world. Poland just seized half of the sort of private pension assets, Poland, a EU country, right? So that they could basically lower their debt to GDP ratio so that they could borrow more money. And so if you're sitting in any of these countries, right, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, I've worked hard, I've played by the rules, I've saved money, I'm trying to do very simple things with it, buy a house, have a vacation, pay for a car, pay for my kids to go to school, pass that on, pay for my daughter's wedding. And now you have to deal with these people who frankly mismanaged, didn't know what they were doing, were put in a position of power simply because they were able to check a box and have a degree and convince somebody else that checked a box and had a degree that they were just as smart as them. All this shit flows downhill and then you pay the price. What would you do? And I look at Bitcoin and I say, my God, you can protect your assets. So at a very, very basic level, if there's any fiscal or monetary instability in a country, or you don't believe or trust what's happening, you should absolutely have a percent of your assets there. This is no different when the Nazis were killing Jews left, right, and center. They were able to basically transfer wealth into things like diamonds, and they were able to at least protect themselves somewhat. But even then, they were severely taken advantage of, right? But now you can take that to a much more structural, uniform scale applied to everybody, right? So if you're Venezuela and you've been playing by the rules and now you don't like what's happening there, you can get your money or your assets into Bitcoin and shield it from a government you fundamentally don't trust. I mean, how is that a bad idea? That's this is genius, right? I mean, we're sitting around here right now, most of our assets in US dollars, hoping to God that someone between Larry Summers or Janet Yellen knows what the hell they're doing. Just so you guys know, we've been printing money out the yin-yang for about 8 or 9 years, and now we're hoping that once the printing press stops, that one of those two people can figure it out. And all I'm saying is, and I know Larry very well, and I think Larry is a genius, and I think Larry would do a fantastic job. Even Larry can only control it so much. And so I, frankly, have worked too hard for what I've earned. And I just want to protect it. And I want to be able to do whatever I want with it. I don't want to be told what others think. I just don't give a shit what others think. And so that's why I think Bitcoin is so amazing. So as a business service, it's genius. And then secondarily, sort of as an instrument of protecting assets and asset value, I think that will start as a developing world phenomenon, and I think it'll spill over to the developed world. And so you're talking about a 20-year arc, but this thing is going to rip. It's just going to continue to go up and to the right forever.